Really happy to have back on the program. Been a little bit since we've chatted with them. He's with the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC. Really happy to have back on here Andrew Handel. Andrew, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate the chat with you. Looking forward to it. This is exciting. For the first time, and I said this a while back, this is a monumental feat because I don't remember the last time any governmental agency, really in any nation since the beginning of really mankind, to actually downsize themselves and cut out their federal bureaucracy and say, you know what, we don't need to do this any longer. We're going to get out of the way and let education do its thing. This is kind of a monumental moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a historic moment. It's something that, the states have been clamoring for this for, I would say decades. This is something we've been working on for a very, very, very long time. So we're really excited to see it. I mean, you think about it, the Department of Education doesn't, they're not responsible for teaching a single student out there. The states are the ones that are responsible for that. So, we'd much rather have the states in charge of this and have the states guiding what education policy looks like for themselves.
Let's talk about the point that led up to this. Obviously, it's been a bit of a struggle. Donald Trump tried to sign an executive order a while back that would completely get rid of or at least gut the Department of Education. Then he held off, and then he did the slow transition and started cutting down some of the staff. And then he finally signed the one that said he was going to transition it to be essentially zero with this movement of structuring downward and moving and passing things on to either other agencies or down to those statewide levels. Andrew, why has it been such a difficult process to do this? I know it's a major, huge agency at the federal level, obviously, but why has it been so difficult to make this transition?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason is, you can't actually close the Department of Education unless you get an act of Congress.
Yes.
It's something that's going to take a pretty lengthy bill, to go through all of those different programs and appropriations and authorities that Congress has over time given to the Department of Education, and you got to, strip those back and move them to other agencies. So, but I think this time around, the Trump administration seems, very serious about, getting this done. We've seen the moves that they've been making to enhance efficiency across government. They've cut the staff at the Department of Education by 50%. So, they're definitely looking to make operations leaner and, find those efficiencies and give authority right back to the states where it belongs.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. And of course, now Congress is working on it. I know Congressman Thomas Massey has a bill, a few others as well, that have bills presented to officially end and stop funding the Department of Education that hopefully can go through in this next federal budget in 2026. That being said, let's talk about the transition of the power down to the states having the authority to really disperse the funds they need to and give different curriculum that they need to. What is this going to look like at a state level now that they're getting this power? Is this the State Board of Education? Are they going to the local school districts? I mean, how is this going to look moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's something that they're still formulating. I mean, where I think it's going to end up is we're going to take all of these different funds and appropriations that Congress has put out there, and we're just going to bundle them together and block grant it out to the states. So doing that gives the states a lot more flexibility. It just means it's one single grant that the department sends over to the states, and then they get to determine how best to spend that money on various education services. So they could spend it on a school choice program. They could spend it on expanding charter schools. They could spend it on special education services. They could spend it on, free and reduced price lunches. Whatever they think is best, they're going to be empowered to direct those funds, to whatever extent works best for them. And, the best way I can put it is, what works best for people in California probably isn't going to work best for people in Florida, right? So, that's why it's so important to make sure that states are the ones in charge. They're the ones that fundamentally know what will work best for their communities.
Well, it's the way it should have been in the first place. I mean, I don't know why we got to the level of what we did, allowing the federal government to micromanage every single state. That's kind of crazy to me, but that's the way we've kind of dealt with it. Now, the argument and the concern from others that don't like this idea have been, like you mentioned, some of the grants for higher education or grants for special education or certain particular areas of K through 12 school. And they've said that they're not sure where this is going to come from. Now, you're saying it's all going to go as a lump sum to the state, and then the state can disperse it how it needs to based on their own individual needs, which would make sense. But let's talk about like higher education for just a moment, with them getting rid of in grants for this research study or this program or that program. Is it going to be essentially the same thing, or are those going to maybe the Department of Commerce or the Treasury Department or somewhere else where it's still going to be managed, but just not through the Department of Education?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's going to be determined on a case-by-case basis. There's certain things that come to mind, like, Title I funding for disadvantaged communities, special education funding, free and reduced price lunches. Those are all programs that obviously they're not going to get rid of. The funding is not going to be affected for those. But if they are successful in closing the department and sending all this authority back to the states, then you'll see those programs be transitioned into other places. So, we've already seen the administration say that, special education, they want to send over to HHS, Health and Human Services, under Secretary Kennedy.
Yeah.
They've also said that the student loan portfolio they would send over to the Small Business Administration. So, I think we're already seeing the administration thinking through, what are the priority programs and where are we going to send those so that they can be run more efficiently.
Do you think that states are going to be communicating with one another better on what's working, what's not working in education? Right now, I'm assuming they're talking a little bit, but right now with getting so many mandates from the federal government, that if they have the sole power to decide what they're going to do in the classroom on a state level, I'm assuming, at least I would hope, that we would be talking on a state-to-state basis on, hey, this works really well over here. Maybe you should try this. Hey, maybe this program works over here. We should try this. And I'm assuming that we could have maybe better communication on a state-to-state level.
Sure. Yeah. And I think the states already are communicating really well. That's exactly what we do here at ALEC. We have state lawmakers as a part of our membership, and we bring all those lawmakers together, and we'll have folks from West Virginia talk about the Hope Scholarship Program there, which is a universal education scholarship account program that's seeing tremendous results. And, we can hear from them and explain, why this works and, what are the things that you have to think about when you're building these programs and implementing them. So I think states are already communicating really well, and, that's why having this enhanced flexibility is even more important, right? Because we don't want these one-size-fits-all mandates coming down from the federal government. We want to make sure that states and local communities are empowered to, guide this funding towards whatever is going to best help their students achieve future success.
What a wild concept. We're talking with Andrew Handel. He's with the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC. As we talk about these states having the ability, this partners as well with the executive orders that were signed by the Trump administration on National School Choice Week, but advocating for national school choice, signing the executive order to allow it, with the states also having more power in their own education. Do you think, or are you optimistic, this is going to lead to more states opening up more of that competition, allowing more school choice, or at least some type of open enrollment style within their own states?
I think it definitely will. We actually just saw earlier this week on Monday, the Department of Education released a letter to all the state superintendents of education, in response to President Trump's executive order that he signed during National School Choice Week, which essentially asked the Secretary of Education to look at the existing programs within the department, and if there's any flexibility for states to put that money towards school choice, let's let them know about it and let's try to encourage it. So just this past Monday, they got that first letter out the door and told the states about some existing programs in Title I and some flexibilities that might be there. So we're already seeing, this administration taking, existing law and allowing the states to put more money towards education freedom and school choice. So it's super exciting. And obviously, this is just the first of a couple letters that the department is expected to release over the next couple of months. So we're really excited about it, and you're definitely going to see states, with some more money and more flexibility to expand and create new school choice programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, it's only the beginning. We are starting, and we have so much new opportunity for us with the way that we're shaking things up in Washington, D.C. Andrew, hang on the line. We got to take a hard break here. It's Andrew Handel, American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC. You can find their information on their website, being able to bring the states together and find those best opportunities across the board. When we come back, I want to talk about the graduation rates, the quality of education, and how we can start utilizing this opportunity now to raise those standards. And is it just money driven? Are we throwing money at it and all of a sudden, it works? Or do we need to do something a little bit different? We'll talk about those opportunities and more. One segment left here on a Friday, getting you set for another weekend. It's The Voice of Reason. Stay right here. It is What's Up. Welcome back into it. We got a couple minutes left here of the program as we wrap things up for the weekend for a Friday. I Man, if we had more time, we could go 4 hours on this program. There's so much to talk about, and there is some really crazy news going on right now.
News of the day.
Yeah. Your weird news of the day. We don't have a lot of time to talk on it, but there was a headline that was actually just running on Fox News a little while ago. I got a call from Mark Walters, Armed American Radio, during his commercial break on his radio program a while ago, right before this show started. It said, Andy, have you seen the headline? And sent me a picture of what he saw on his Fox News headline, that Fox was running a story about a declassified file from the CIA about ETs, extraterrestrials, aka aliens, that have pledged to do a complete human massacre because of us shooting down their UFO years ago. Now, I'm just saying, I know, I'm just saying that we're finally talking about this issue. We're going to have to find some time to talk about that a little bit later. So that's a little radio tease for you, and we'll look forward to that. Right now, though, we're talking education. Maybe if we educate more people on ETs, they won't be as scared about it. What do you think, Andrew? Andrew Handel, American Legislative Exchange Council. We need to educate more people on ETs, and therefore we can be prepared. Yeah.
I think that'll do it, Andy. I think that'll do it.
That's right. I love it. I want to ask you, I mean, now that all this conversation about education, which drives me nuts, is always focused around money. How much money we're getting, where the money's going, what money's going to be used for what program. At the end of the day, though, is money really the thing that actually raises the quality of education? Is money really what raises the graduation rates at a certain school? Because we have a buttload of money going to really big school districts, and it seems like they're the ones that continue to struggle the most with the worst graduation rates and with education of like reading curriculum that's at like a 5th grade level when they graduate high school.
Right. Yeah, it is absolutely not all about the money. It is not about how much you're spending. It's about how you're spending it, right? So, you got states like New York who are spending, close to $30,000 per student per year just to teach them in public school. And, they're right smack in the middle of the road in terms of test scores. So it's not about how much money you're throwing at it. Public schools across the country are tremendously well funded. The question is, are you allowing that money to follow students to whatever school is best for them? So, you take a simple, cul-de-sac, for example, right? You might have 5 kids on a cul-de-sac. For 2 kids, their public school is going to be the best fit. For 1 kid, it might be a homeschool. For 1 kid, it might be a virtual school. And then for the 5th kid, it might be a charter school. So, it's not a knock on public schools. There's just no such thing as one school that can possibly provide the best possible education to every kid. So, that's why we've got to have all these other options available. And, I think that's how we're going to get graduation rates up. That's how we're going to get achievement up. And that's how we're going to get test scores up.
Yeah, bingo. I mean, it's not a universal way to teach everybody the same. Every kid is different. Every student learns a different way, whether they're more visual, whether they're more hands-on, or they have that photographic memory. I mean, everybody learns differently. And we've almost forgotten that mindset, I think. We just think that we just need to sit them in the classroom and sit them there for a long period of time. And if they don't do well, sit them there for a longer period of time. And if they still don't do well, then give them Adderall or something to where they pay more attention while they're sitting there for a long period of time and just expect them all to learn the same way. We got to change that mindset. And I'm excited to see what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, me too. We're really excited. We're all the way up to 15 states now have these universal school choice programs where every single kid can access this funding and go to any school. So, we're really excited about it. We still got some, potentially a huge program about to be created in Texas. I know legislators in New Hampshire are looking at this as well. So, yeah, lots of great movement on this, and millions of kids around the country are about to benefit from these programs. So it's awesome to see.
That's really cool. Last question for you. We got about 30 seconds left here, Andrew. Micro-schooling of not even using public schools, but just having like the block of students and the parents in that on that street being able to create their own curriculum. Is that a future, and is that an option, do you think?
Oh, it's definitely an option. Yeah, it's definitely an option. It's it's a newer form of learning, I'd say. So it's something that, here at ALEC, we've been studying it. We just released a statement of principles for lawmakers to kind of consult as they're thinking through what these laws are going to look like. I mean, we've heard some crazy stories about, parking regulations, outside of somebody's home that they're now using as a micro school and being told, well, it can't be a micro school because, you don't have, 20 parking spaces or something like that. So,
Wow.
so it's a very new thing, and, we're working through some of those weird regulatory issues, but
All right.
definitely growing in popularity. We're excited about it.
Work in progress. I like that. The future of education. It's going to be exciting to see where we land on that one. Andrew, we appreciate it very much, my friend. Keep up the fight. We'll get you back on again real soon.